Why you keep having the same arguments? Ayurveda explains why. Have you ever walked away from an argument and thought, how did we end up fighting about something so small? You both wanted the same outcome. Neither of you woke up that morning wanting conflict. Yet, somehow, the conversation became frustrating, emotional, or completely unproductive. Maybe you have even had the same argument several times in the past. Different words, different day, exactly the same ending. And if that sounds familiar, I would like to offer you a different way of looking at relationships. Not from the perspective of who's right or who's wrong, not from the perspective of personality tests, but from the perspective of Ayurveda. Now, if you are new to Ayurveda, don't worry. You don't need to know anything about it to benefit from today's conversation. Because this isn't really about ancient philosophy. It is about understanding ourselves and each other a little better. By the end of this video, you will understand why the very qualities that first attract us to someone can later become the source of conflict, and how one simple shift in perspective can transform the way we communicate. So let's begin. One of the biggest misconceptions I hear is that Ayurveda divides people into fixed personality types. You must be a Vata, or he's definitely a Pitta, or she's such a Kapha. That's not really how Ayurveda works. Every one of us expresses all three doshas. Think of them less as personality labels and more as patterns of energy, qualities that influence how we respond to life, especially when we are under stress. And that's an important distinction, because relationships don't usually become difficult when everything is going well. They become difficult when we are tired, overwhelmed, worried, frustrated, or under pressure. That's when these patterns become more obvious. Before we go any further, let me ask you something. Have you ever admired something about another person in the beginning of a relationship, only to find that same quality frustrating later on? Maybe you loved how spontaneous they were. Now they seem disorganized. Or maybe you admired how confident they were, and now they feel controlling. Or maybe you appreciated how calm and easygoing they were, and now they seem unwilling to make decisions. Why does that happen? In my experience, it's rarely because people change completely. More often, it is because we begin seeing those same qualities through the lens of stress, expectation, and everyday life. Ayurveda helps explain why. So let's look at the three doshas. The first is Vata. Vata is associated with movement, creativity, flexibility, and change. People expressing more Vata qualities often bring excitement into relationships. They enjoy new experiences, meaningful conversations, and fresh ideas. Life with them can feel vibrant and full of possibility. But when Vata becomes out of balance, those same qualities appear very differently. Instead of creativity, there may be uncertainty. Instead of flexibility, there may be inconsistency. And instead of imagination, there may be worry. Imagine someone who sends warm messages all morning and then suddenly becomes quiet after a stressful day at work. It's easy to think they have lost interest. Very often, that's not what is happening. Their nervous system has simply become overwhelmed. And now let's look at Pitta. Pitta is associated with transformation. It brings focus, determination, and leadership. These are often the people who organize family holidays, solve problems, and step forward when something needs to be done. Many of us are naturally attracted to that confidence. But under pressure, confidence becomes criticism. Efficiency becomes impatience. The desire to solve problems becomes the need to win every discussion. And have you ever noticed someone trying to fix a problem when all you really wanted was for them to listen? That's often where misunderstanding begins. And now let's consider Kapha. Kapha represents stability, patience, and steadiness. These are often the people who create a sense of safety. They are dependable, supportive, grounded, the kind of people others naturally lean on during difficult times. But when kapha becomes excessive, stability becomes resistance. Instead of expressing hurt, someone may quietly withdraw. Instead of discussing difficult emotions, they may avoid the conversations altogether. Not because they don't care, but often because retreat feels safer than confrontation. And here's what I find fascinating. None of these responses are inherently good or bad. They're simply different ways of trying to restore balance. And that's where relationships become really interesting. Imagine someone with strong Vata qualities living with someone expressing more Kapha qualities. One naturally seeks movement and change, and the other naturally seeks stability and familiarity. Neither is wrong. They are simply trying to create balance in different ways. Or imagine someone expressing more Vata qualities with someone expressing more Pitta. One is looking for reassurance, the other is looking for solutions. One explores possibilities and the other wants decisions. Again, neither person is trying to create conflict. They are simply speaking different emotional languages. I often compare this to an orchestra. Imagine 3 musicians. One loves improvisation, another follows the rhythm with precision, and the third provides a steady foundation beneath the music. Each brings something valuable, but harmony only emerges when they listen to one another. Relationships are very similar. Harmony isn't created because 2 people are the same. It is created because they understand and respect their differences. There is another important idea in Ayurveda that makes this even more practical. We distinguish between 2 concepts, Prakruti and Vikruti. Prakruti is your natural constitution, the qualities you were born with. And Vikruti is your current state. Why does it matter? Because none of us behaves exactly the same all the time. Someone who is naturally calm may become impatient after weeks of poor sleep. Someone who is usually organized may become scattered during a particularly stressful period. Someone who is confident may suddenly become anxious after a significant life event. We are not fixed personalities. We are constantly responding to our environment. That understanding changes the questions we ask. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with my partner?" we begin asking, "What might be out of balance right now?" And that single question replaces judgment with curiosity. And curiosity is one of the healthiest qualities we can bring to any relationship. Now, I want to be very clear about something. Understanding these patterns does not excuse hurtful behavior. Ayurveda is not about saying, "That's just my dosha." We are always responsible for how we speak, how we behave, and how we treat other people. Understanding creates compassion. It does not remove accountability. So, how can we use this in everyday life? The next time you find yourself in an argument, pause before reacting. Ask yourself 3 simple questions. Is this conversation becoming fast and anxious? Is it becoming hot and argumentative? Or has it become quiet and emotionally stuck? These 3 patterns often reflect an increase in Vata, Pitta, or Kapha. Recognizing the quality that's present helps us respond more wisely. If everything feels rushed, maybe the conversation needs slowing down. If emotions are becoming heated, maybe both people need a little space before continuing. And if the discussion has completely stopped, perhaps what's needed is enough safety for someone to speak honestly. The goal isn't to diagnose your partner. The goal is to understand what's happening in the moment. And maybe that's the greatest gift Ayurveda offers to relationships. It shifts our attention away from blame and towards awareness. Instead of trying to change the other person first, we begin by understanding ourselves. And that simple shift often changes the entire conversation. So the next time you find yourself becoming frustrated with someone you care about, I would like to leave you with one question. Instead of asking, "Who's right?" ask, "What quality is showing up here? And what would help bring this relationship back towards a balance?" I have found that question to be far more helpful than trying to win an argument. If today's conversation has given you a different way of understanding your relationships, I would love to hear your thoughts. Have you recognized any of these patterns in yourself? Not all the time, but maybe during periods of stress. So share your reflections in the comments, and I read them, and they often inspire future videos as well. And if you are interested in learning more about Ayurveda in a practical, evidence-informed way, consider subscribing. My aim is to help you understand yourself more deeply and apply Ayurvedic wisdom to everyday life. Not through complicated theory, but through simple, meaningful insights you can actually use. So until next time, take a moment today to notice, not judge, the qualities that are present within you. Because awareness is often the first step towards balance.